I never thought I would doubt someone living under the same roof as me. But lately, I can't escape the feeling that something or someone is watching me. It started as a whisper in my gut, the kind of uneasy feeling you dismiss as stress or paranoia. But every day it gets bigger, clearer, more persistent. My name is Emma Brooks. I am 35 years old and an art teacher at a public high school in Savannah, Georgia. I've been married to Bradley for 6 years, and for most of that time, we lived with his mother, Margaret, in her family's 3-story colonial home just off Forsyth Park. It's a place that looks straight out of a postcard: white pillars, wraparound porches, manicured hedges, but behind those shutters, the air often feels chilly. Not from the temperature, but from Margaret's stare, her silence, her always measured words. Bradley worked long hours. He is a construction engineer and often travels abroad on business for weeks at a time. That left me and Margaret alone in that big, echoing house. Our conversation was polite, sometimes even warm in a forced way, like two colleagues sharing an elevator. But I can always feel her watching. Judgment, waiting for something to confirm whatever opinion she had secretly formed about me. Then things started to go out. At first, it was the little things. One day, I came home and found the drawer where I kept my diary slightly ajar. Another morning, the phone I always left charging on the kitchen counter ran out of battery, even though it had been plugged in overnight. One time, I found muddy footprints in the hallway near the living room. Margaret blames the plumber, said he stopped by while I was at work, but I haven't made an appointment with a plumber yet. Bradley brushed it off. Honey, you've been working so much. You're stressed. Don't let your mind play tricks on you, he said over the phone, his voice cracking from a Seattle hotel room. I want to believe him. I really did. But the uncomfortable knot in my stomach tightened every time Margaret asked a question that made me feel heavy. You're gone this afternoon, she said casually while pouring tea for herself. Hope the art store has everything you need? Or, did you change your shampoo? I smell something different on your scarf. Musky. Almost like perfume? Always be polite. Always sophisticated. But each comment digs a little deeper under my skin. Then the night came that changed everything. I was lying in bed reading a book when I saw it. A flash of light outside our bedroom window, like a flash from a camera. I froze. The light disappeared as quickly as it came. I rushed to the window, my heart pounding, and looked out into the backyard. Nothing. There is no movement, no sound, but my skin was filled with tears, as if someone had whispered my name in the dark. The next morning, I woke up early and checked the window. There were faint scratches on the sill outside, as if someone had stood there, perhaps leaning on it. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick and drove to the electronics store. I bought 2 small motion sensor cameras, one for the living room and one for the hallway outside my bedroom door. I'm not sure what I expected to find, but I needed proof that I have not lost my mind, that something is happening around me, to me. I display them discreetly, hidden behind picture frames and a decorative vase. I didn't tell Bradley. I didn't tell anyone. It feels strange, sneaky, but also strangely powerful. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had some control. That night, I lay in bed with the lights off and looked up at the ceiling. Every creak of the floorboards made my pulse beat faster. Every wind blowing through the window made me sit up. I think back to all the moments piled up like pebbles, small, almost impossible to miss. But together, they were a landslide. Margaret's question, drawers, damn phone, the ghostly plumber. Light flashed. Something's wrong, and I ended up ignoring it. When I finally fell into an uneasy sleep, I remember thinking, who is following me and why? And even more haunting than that, what do they think they're going to find? The next few days passed in a blur of normalcy that made things even more unusual. Margaret made her usual breakfast of steel-cut oats and blueberries, commenting on the weather as if nothing strange had ever happened between us. Bradley called in the evening, exhausted but emotional, and yet I couldn't shake off the invisible tension wrapping around my spine. Then, on Thursday afternoon, I saw him. I had just finished grading a stack of student sketches in the art room and was walking to my car when I noticed a silver-gray car parked across the street. The same car I saw twice now near the grocery store and once stationary at the park where I jogged. At first, I thought maybe it belonged to a neighbor or an employee. But this time, the car wasn't just parked. The driver was inside, and he was watching me. I kept walking. My keys were already in my hand, and I pressed the lock button a few more times out of nervous habit. As I approached my car, I glanced quickly at the sedan. The man, a middle-aged man with thin brown hair and aviator sunglasses, looked away when our eyes almost met. I sat in the car, pretending to adjust the mirror. Then I turned on the ignition, and instead of driving home, I drove around the block. Sure enough, the sedan followed. Not close, not clear. But when I turned right at the next intersection, it also turned right. When I changed direction again, yes, again, it matched me. I don't panic. Not yet. I drove straight to the police station, and just like that, the car disappeared. I waited in the parking lot for about 10 minutes before going inside. I did not submit the report. I don't know what to say. No crime was committed. No real threat occurred. Still, I asked the desk staff if they could sell a plate if I brought one in later. He gave me a big smile and a polite nod. Only if there's a reason, ma'am, but write it down just in case. That night, I couldn't sleep. Friday afternoon, I took a different route home, noticing the gray car. Nothing. Then, as I walked up the front steps, I saw it again, 2 houses away, parked behind a giant half-covered oak tree. I don't hesitate. I quickly took a picture of the license plate with my phone and went inside. Margaret was in the kitchen, stirring something in the pot. The scent of rosemary and garlic fills the air. "You left too early," she said without turning around. "I don't want to be late today," I replied, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, you came just in time. I cooked chicken stew. Thought we could eat together. We haven't had dinner together in weeks, maybe a few months." I smiled and nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. That night, when Margaret was asleep and the house was dark, I pulled out my laptop and searched a public records search site. The license plate was quickly retrieved, registered to Callahan Investigations, based right in Savannah. A private detective. The breath left my body. Someone hired a detective to follow me. I got up from the table and paced the room. My heart was pounding, and all the theories were twisting tighter and tighter in my head. Does Bradley doubt me? Did anyone at school accuse me of anything? Or are not? It hit me like ice. Margaret. She's the only one home when I'm not there. She was the only person who ever wondered about my whereabouts, who hinted at secrets I didn't keep. Did she hire someone But why? What do you think I'm doing? I lay in bed, staring at the slowly spinning ceiling fan above me. I wanted to scream, to confront her. But I needed more than that. Proof and a plan. The next morning, I made coffee and sat across from her in the breakfast nook as sunlight filtered through the white lace curtains. "Margaret," I said softly, "have you ever hired a private investigator?" She looked up, blinked, then giggled. "What do I need one of those for planning a heist?" I smiled slightly. "Just curious. I have a strange feeling that someone is following me." She sipped her tea, unable to read. "These are strange times. There are a lot of weirdos out there. You never know." Her answer told me everything I needed to know, but I don't say anything more. Not yet. Instead, I waited. Because if Margaret wants to play the game, then I'm finally ready to play again. It was a Tuesday evening when things got tense. The air in the house seemed thicker, heavier, as if it knew what was about to happen. Margaret had been silent all day. More silent than usual. The kind of silence that is not peaceful, but full of calculation. Bradley had returned home from Seattle that morning. He looked tired, his shoulders sagging as he dropped his luggage down the stairs and kissed me on the cheek. I tried to smile, but the weight of all the things left unsaid was gnawing at me. After dinner, grilled salmon, mashed potatoes, and strain that you could cut with a knife, Margaret cleared her throat. "Dear Emma, can you come upstairs with me? There's something I want to talk about in private." Bradley looked between us, eyebrows raised. "Is everything okay?" Margaret patted his hand. "Just cleaning up a bit. Housekeeping service?" "Right." I followed her up the creaky stairs, my heart pounding. She led me into the second-floor living room, her sanctuary, filled with lace doilies, old books, and the faint scent of lavender and mothballs. On the table, there is a large envelope. She pointed to the armchair across from her. "Please sit down." I complied, folding my arms tightly in my lap. She opened the envelope slowly, methodically, and pulled out a thick, glossy stack of photos. She held them for a moment, stared at the top image, then pushed them across the table toward me. "I think you should see these," she said calmly. Before I show Bradley, I picked them up with trembling fingers. There I was in the park, standing next to a man. We were talking, sitting on a bench. In one photo, I'm hugging him. It looked damning, intimate. "You've been following me," I said quietly. "I have concerns," she replied. "Your behavior lately, your disappearance. You've kept it a secret. And now?" I looked up at her. "Do you know who that is?" She didn't answer. I pulled out my phone and looked through my photos until I found the one I had saved. A letter. I slid it across the table. "Before you jump to conclusions, read this." That's from Dr. Leah Martinez, a psychologist at the Savannah Veterans Outreach Center. It details how I mentored a young veteran, Daniel Harper, who was struggling with severe PTSD and homelessness. The letter praised my dedication, my vigilance, and my impact on his recovery. Margaret stared at it. Then she stared at me. I don't talk. I let the silence linger, letting her sit with what she had done. Her face was pale, her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. I stood up and took the letter back. "I want Bradley to see both pictures in this one." I turned towards the door. "Emma?" I stopped. "Correct?" She hesitated. Her voice wavered. "I don't know. I think. You think I'm cheating on your son, and instead of talking to me, You hire someone to follow me? She doesn't deny it. I left the room, and as I walked down the stairs, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: clarity. It's not just about trust. It's about respect. And for once, I won't beg for it either. The morning after Margaret confronted me, I sat alone in the kitchen, a cup of cold, untouched coffee in front of me. Outside, the sun shines brightly, birds chirp, and the world carries on as if everything is completely normal. But there's a storm inside me. Bradley went downstairs, rubbed his eyes, and yawned. He noticed the tension immediately. "Is everything okay?" he asked. I hesitated. I then gave him the manila envelope that Margaret had shown me, along with the letter from Dr. Martinez. "Read these," I said. "All of them, before you said a word." He slowly opened the file, flipping through the photos, his expression dark. Then he read the letter, twice. When he looked up, there was a mixture of confusion, anger, and something else. "Regret? Emma? I don't know," he said. "I swear I didn't know she did this." "I trust you," I replied softly, "but you need to understand how far this has gone." He nodded. "Where is she?" "In her room, I think." She woke up late. A few hours later, after a long silence over breakfast, I invited Margaret to come along. I didn't tell her where we were going. She agreed, although her face showed some hesitation. I drove us across town to the Savannah Veterans Outreach Center, the modest brick building, located between a bank and a church, with an American flag fluttering in the wind. Inside, the atmosphere is quiet and respectful. A receptionist greeted us, and after a short wait, we were ushered into a small room with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Dr. Leah Martinez walked in with a warm smile. "Emma, it's nice to meet you, and you must be Mrs. Brooks." Margaret nodded politely. "I think it's important for you to hear this from someone else," I began. "I'm working with one of your former students here, Daniel Harper." Dr. Martinez took over. Daniel was Emma's student in high school. He served in Afghanistan and came back with severe PTSD. When Emma ran into him on the street 2 months ago, he was living in his car. Margaret blinked. Her hands rested stiffly on her thighs. Since then, she's been helping him get back on his feet, quietly, discreetly. She hasn't told anyone, including us, out of respect for Daniel's privacy. A few minutes later, the door opened and Daniel Harper walked in. He looked nothing like the man in the photo. His shoulders were hunched, his eyes were tired but gentle. He waved shyly. "Hello, Mrs. Brooks," he said. Margaret nodded slightly. Daniel sat next to me. "I just want to say, I owe this woman so much. She found me when I was lost. She brought me to this place, helped me face things I couldn't handle on my own." His voice trembled. "She never judged me, never asked for anything, just listened, just cared." The room fell silent. Margaret's eyes were like glass. When we returned home, none of us spoke the entire trip. It wasn't until we parked in the driveway that she turned to me. "I judged you," she said. "Because I don't know you, because I'm scared." I don't answer. But what I did, the spying, the accusations, were all wrong, and I'm sorry. I looked at her, the woman who tried her best to maintain control, who believed herself to be the protector of her son's life and legacy. And for the first time since moving into that house, I saw her vulnerability. She opened the door and walked out, pausing only once before stepping inside. And I sat for a long time, letting the silence envelop me like a balm. Maybe, just maybe, something has changed. Perhaps respect is not required. Maybe it was earned, even in the most unexpected ways. The house felt different after that day. Still quiet, still filled with darkness and antique furniture. But the silence no longer weighed on my chest like it used to. Something has changed. It's not dramatic at all. Margaret did not suddenly become warm and affectionate. She doesn't bake cookies or call me darling with a sincere smile. But she gave me space, and more than that, she gave me respect. The kind of respect you can only give when you realize how deeply you've misjudged someone. Bradley noticed that too. He was gentler with me, more present. I think he carried a silent sense of guilt about not seeing what I was going through, about not asking more questions when things didn't feel right. And while I don't need an apology from him, I appreciate the way he subtly tries to make things easier staying home more, checking off the day's work, cooking dinner without being asked. A week passed. Then two. Life settles into a new rhythm. Then, one morning, I found a note on the kitchen table. Emma, will you sit and drink coffee with me this morning? I want to talk. Margaret. It was written in her careful, neat handwriting. I stared at those words for a moment, wondering what kind of conversation she wanted to talk about. When I walked into the kitchen, she was already there. 2 steaming cups sat on the table, black coffee for her, hazelnut cream for me. She didn't say anything right away, just pointed at the chair across from her. I sit. She looks older than I remember, not just in the wrinkles or gray streaks in her hair, but also in her eyes, like something long buried had come to the surface. I owe you more than an apology, she said. I waited. I was wrong. She continued. About a lot of things, but mostly about you. I let her speak. I always tried to protect Bradley. After his father died, I made it my mission to make sure no one took advantage of him. And when he married you, someone I didn't choose, someone I didn't know, I panicked. I looked down at my cup. I thought keeping him close meant controlling everything, but what I did to you, it was fear disguised as anxiety, and it wasn't fair. At that moment, her voice broke. Just a little. It made me look up. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to hear it from me. There was a long silence. I forgive you, I said softly. But I need you to understand that trust is a two-way street. I always try to respect this house and you, even when it's not easy. She nodded slowly. Now I see. A gust of wind blew through the open window, rustling the curtains. The light moves, creating soft shadows on the table. I want to start again, she said. No secrets, no games, just honesty. I smiled gently. I want that too. We sat in silence for a while, sipping coffee. It wasn't a comfortable silence, but it wasn't tense either. That quiet means something is being rebuilt, brick by brick. Over the following weeks, small changes bloomed like wildflowers in unexpected places. Margaret and I went grocery shopping. Nothing complicated, just share your cart and comment on the products. We started watching an old mystery TV series together in the evening. Sometimes we even laugh out loud. One afternoon, she gently knocked on my studio door and asked if I could teach her to draw. I almost cried. The moment that surprised me the most came one Sunday morning. Bradley was reading the newspaper, and I was planning a lesson when Margaret walked in with a folded piece of paper. I wrote Daniel a letter, she said. I looked up. You did that. She gave it to me. I want you to read it first, in case I said something wrong. The letter was simple, but sincere. She thanked him for his service, for allowing her to learn something about judgment and humility. She wished him peace and recovery. It's the most humane thing I've ever read from her. I looked at her honestly, and saw someone trying. And that's important. Not all wounds heal with time. Some need effort, some need humility, and some just need the truth to come to light. For the first time since I married Bradley, the house feels like home. Not because everything is perfect, but because something has actually begun. Trust. And the quiet kind of love grows not from convenience, but from hard-won respect. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing in relationships is not words, but silent assumptions. Margaret wasn't malicious from the start. She was just afraid of losing her son, afraid of being replaced, and it was that fear that made her do the wrong thing. But the truth always has magical power. It not only vindicates, but also heals. Through this story, we hope you feel a profound message. Trust needs to be cultivated by listening, respect, and sometimes even the courage to apologize. If you see yourself in any part of the story as Emma, as Margaret, or simply as someone trying to understand others better, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your experiences and thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, share it with friends who need to hear this story, and subscribe to the SheGotEven channel to watch the next parts full of surprises and emotions. And remember to ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. She said, "I wasn't worthy," until I revealed her secret. We promise you won't want to miss a thing.